Cloud Transformation Government Panel discussion on the topic, the future of data center networking and interconnection. We're looking at talking about creating a policy, strategy, and adoption plan using data, AI, analytics to try to understand the new normal, CX at the center of cloud transformation, establishing a fully empowered cloud center of excellence, supplementing skill shortage and seek knowledge transfer, recognizing the need for optimization as an integral part of the cloud migration, adopting a hybrid and multi-cloud strategy. How do we mitigate the challenges of virtualization? Is IaaS the most effective way forward? Who owns and controls the data? And how do we ensure compliance and security in a regulated industry? With this and much more, joining us on the screen now are our panelists. First up, Juan, Intan, Kanggrawan, the head of data analytics, Jakarta Smart City into Indonesia. Well, Juan possesses more than 10 plus years of exposure in business, government, and technology, and has a will to drive organizations to make better decisions and faster across the levels and functions. Thank you so much, Juan, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now with this, we're joined by Setiaji, the head of department at ICT Digital Services, Jakarta Provincial Government, Indonesia. Well, Setiaji is an accomplished leader with experience in working with governments and public sector organizations to ease the life of citizens of Jakarta with the help of technology. Thank you so much, Setiaji, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure having you.
Morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, now joining us on the screen is Johnson Lopalisa, the head of information technology at the Jakarta Post, Indonesia. Well, Johnson is an experienced professional with demonstrated history of working in the media, mining, and metals industry, and his skills in enterprise architecture, ITIL, databases, IT service management, and IT strategy are commendable. Thank
Morning,
you so
everyone.
much for joining us.
Thank you.
And with this, we'll soon and shortly be joined by Ms. Lim May Ann, the Executive Director, Asia Cloud Computing Association, Singapore. Lim has an extensive experience in public policy, technology policy development, and government relations across the Asia Pacific, and has worked with many global, regional, and local organizations on thought leadership development. So she's going to be joining us shortly. With this, I'd now like to call upon and invite on the screen our moderator, Kailash Raghuvani Kai, author and international business advisor, Indonesia. Well, Kailash has 15 plus years of global experience in building, advising, and scaling funds for businesses, and has a special interest and exposure and expertise in APAC's emerging markets. Thank you so much, Kai, for joining us live today.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah.
Great. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, your eminent panelists are on your screen. I'd also urge all of you to post in your questions in the Q&A tab. So if time allows, we can take it up towards the end. With this, Kai, it's all over to you with your panel. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would like to start to say good morning to everyone here. It's a pretty eminent panel we have from media, from the government as well, and from Cloud Computing Association. I would like to start this discussion with Juan on the topic of how does he foresee the creating a policy for the building a smart city using a cloud technology. I think if you could help me illustrate on that matter. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for the wonderful opening session. I'll try to be brief here. In the context of my team, data analytics at Jakarta Smart City, I think it's very natural to leverage the latest technology and also services, solution, and so on. And I think by using cloud, there is a lot of possibility for scalability, and also in terms of the flexibility in choosing the latest services and so on. At the same time, we know there's still ongoing policy in Indonesia. Let's say I compare with Malaysia, they have the Malaysia One Cloud policy. I think it's not the case for Indonesia, whereby we're still discussing international level about the cloud adoption and also how to implement this in the provincial level, which is in the Jakarta context. To me, I'll try to be practical for that question. I'll try to explore cloud for the so-called non-critical or non-sensitive services and data. for sure in the future we may want to scale it up, but we can start from there. We can do pilot, we can do initial initiative, services, data models, API, and so on. If the response is good, and at the same time the policy development is more comprehensive and exciting, then we can scale this up further. I think that's my practical answer, and I'm happy to discuss further later. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Then we have, I mean, related to this topic is also during the COVID-19, the media has played a major role in distributing information and providing all the information that we get every day on the situation of be it COVID, health in general, or how businesses are performing. So I would like to hear from the leading newspaper, Jakarta Post head of IT, Park Johnson. How does he see the media leveraging on cloud technology during and after the pandemic? And in general about the media, not only Jakarta Post, but in general, how do you see the whole media leverage the cloud technology and building on top of it? Yeah.
Yep. Luckily, last year we do the digital transformation going to the cloud for everything, so we can utilize the technology. Because based on the medias, we don't know how much the load of the users. We just can estimate. For example, there's an article that really interesting for the users. So the load can be going up to 1100%. And luckily, the cloud system that we use can provide that one. That's the first thing. But and also we utilize the machine learning, so we can learn our user experience, so we can deliver a better one.
Okay.
Thank you.
So in terms of have you experienced in the last year, I mean, from the time of pandemic, how do you see that any specific area of the cloud technology that became a hot favorite in the media? I mean, as a head of IT, if you want to go more technical on that side.
We try to focus on delivering more interactive ads and also live streaming services at the moment. Okay. So that's what we're going to.
Okay. I think I would like to move to Park Setiaji to understand that. I mean, I think the role of the government has been under a very, I mean, there are different opinions on that. The government has been using data and violating privacy, and there are a lot of topics on that side. So I would like to understand from Park Setiaji that how do you balance the privacy of people when you ask for access to information, and using cloud technology, which is also sometimes gets under the fire of the privacy area and the cloud technology. So how do you balance that in your internal strategy, especially from an Indonesian perspective? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Maybe I would like to inform first, about the cloud growth in Indonesia. Actually, from the BCG report, Indonesia cloud growth increased around 25%. Yeah, I think more than 25% on the pandemics. And from the government aspect, actually, the West Java is also now use this cloud because for the positive impact. First about the we can fast for the development and etc. And talking about the data itself, actually we use some hybrid system, using the cloud on the public data, and then for the raw data itself we save this in the on premises, and also we use some technology for the cloud itself for the compute. For the high compute we use this because the methods of the infrastructures. So within this combined, we we make sure the data itself is secure, because on the cloud is only for the public data, for the sample, for the aggregate, and then for the raw itself, it's only in the premises. This is what we done, yeah, what we make this solve for the critical aspect for the transparency, for the privacy, and etc.
Okay, okay. And anything in specific when it comes to cloud technology, any area that becomes a bit sensitive for governments in general, that you analyze before selecting a vendor or before selecting a technology? Is it like, what would you want the future of cloud technology be like to be more helpful? Because government will use more and more in future. The same.
Yes, actually now we use this the technology like a native cloud and container, Kubernetes, and etc. And also using some technology for the AI. Yeah, I think for the high compute, it will be more will be used for the governments itself, yeah, because the methods of the technology itself, and also the infrastructures. So I think for the technology itself from the cloud, like AI, machine learning, and big data analytics, and etc., will be useful for the governments, yeah, to use this cloud, and also in terms of the security, because as you know, the cloud system have some certificate, yeah, for the security, like ISO 27000 and etc. Yeah. So it will be make governments safe for use this cloud. And the important thing is on Indonesian, the data center and cloud itself is important thing is only in Indonesian locations. It's important thing.
Yeah. Okay, so we have also Miss Lynn is here. Miss Lim is here.
Sorry, I'm late, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, so she is the executive director for the Asia Cloud Computing Association. I think she knows a lot more about the regional aspect beyond Indonesia. So maybe you can share with us, your understanding of cloud technology usage and where Indonesia stands compared to the region itself.
I think Indonesia, in all my trips to Indonesia, I'm so glad that we have Jakarta Smart City and West Java ICT Agency, Pak Setiaji, Pak Juan with us, because I feel a lot of the work that's being done in Indonesia for using cloud technology was actually driven a lot by small entrepreneurs. They were born on the cloud, and then they really pushed using cloud in the first instance. And then it started to move upwards. They were like, oh, you know what, SaaS and SaaS use of cloud technologies is really, really important. And then suddenly you realize that, okay, the SaaS use has grown to the extent of like, maybe we want to have the platform, and then you rent the platform. And there were a lot of discussions that were ground up. And then yet on the top down, you had other initiatives like smart cities, like Internet of Things, which were really driving a lot of that adoption as well. And I think that Indonesia, in terms of where it stands for cloud adoption, is in a great place. In terms of demand, I think that there's going to be a lot of demand for it. In terms of where the infrastructure, whether or not it's ready or not, whether or not there are enough data centers, whether or not the electrical grid can tolerate the data center builds and the cloud servers, that's a little bit of a bigger question. But in terms of demand, I think that it's looking actually really, really exciting, because there's a lot of innovation and very young population in Indonesia that's really keen on using cloud.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I think that 300 million, the number really strikes. The population really is making a lot of investors and people attracted to the market. That's for sure. And cloud is helping it. I mean, now you can easily launch your own business, and it's very helpful from a cloud perspective. Now I would like to go back to, from a Jakarta Smart City perspective, more on the usage of the technology and and how do you work with these technology, let's say virtualization or any other areas, if you would like to describe where the next, what we would like to, not like to see, but what is possibly the future rollouts that you're planning. I read about there are some entrepreneurial aspects as well, that Jakarta Smart City has partnered with some EU bodies, and I was reading about it, leveraging on, I'm pretty sure that cloud technology will be used there, but maybe you can explain a bit more on the new aspects where you are heading now in 2022, possibly. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for the question. And let me spend 2 to 3 minutes here to answer this and to give you concrete illustrations as well. I think the one that you mentioned just now should be the Jakarta-Berlin sister city formal relation with them, and the EU, European Union, broader collaboration as well. So let me start with the macro view first here, because for us in the Smart City, what we want to build is the digital ecosystem. Yeah. So that's why we are not only working internally within Smart City, but we want to relate with other government agencies, industry, university, research institutions, and so on and so forth. So I think that's what our objective. And because of that, I think naturally we want to work with many players, including technology providers. Can be local, can be so-called global players. Right? I mean, I'm talking with people like Google, AWS, Microsoft, and so on and so forth. So we have been discussing not only just to use the tools, but also in terms of the research collaboration, digital learning, and so on. So I think there is this kind of aspect. At the same time, we have the interest as well to really grow and scale up the startup ecosystem, specifically in Jakarta. As already mentioned just now, the trend and the usage will be huge, especially with the young startups, 1 to 3 years old startup. I think they are really excited, and in general, they use cloud platform as a backbone, right? I think that's the context. Now, practically, come back to Smart City. I think based on this, we are very open to leverage any tools, any solutions, the latest one, and especially we can have like a sandbox or lab concept. It means we don't need to purchase directly in the bulk or in the major purchase every year, for example, but we can test. We can try with a reasonable use case with data that has been provided by us in Smart City across domain and context, and from there we develop the solution, pilot, prototypes. So it depends on the engagement. It can be with university, can be with research, can be with other government agencies, can be with industry. Then the results can be different. Can be prototype, can be solution, can be international or national journal, can be industry paper, and so on. So I think that's the direction. So in essence, we want to collaborate. In essence, we want to build digital ecosystem. Thanks.
Okay, oh, that's very detailed. How about the skill shortage and the knowledge available in the market related to the latest cloud initiatives that are happening? So how do you see Jakarta as the largest city able to bridge the gap between where the manpower expertise is and where it may be needed tomorrow, because the technology changes too fast? And then are there enough people to train the future manpower? How do you bridge?
I receive this question really a lot and frequent. Short answer, for sure, not enough. The skill gap, the talent gap is always there. I mean, not only in Jakarta, but I believe it's a global trend. Even I'm talking with countries like Europe, like US, even in China and so on. So I think the trend and the gap is there, and how we should tackle that, right? So I think I'll try to be pragmatic here. So for Jakarta, we have what we call Smart City Campus, Smart City Lab, and Smart City Innovation Hub. The intention is quite straightforward, how we can leverage or how we can minimize the gap. And we need to work with many institutions, many organizations. I'll give you an example. So the Ministry of Education and Research, they have what they call the National Education Policy Independent Campus, something like that. And then the second one, the Ministry of Infocom, national level, they have the Digital Talent Scholarship, for example. So we are thinking how we can support this to scale up the national initiative to support, to enhance, to renew, so-called the knowledge, and then also the capability, the professional quality of our especially young talents. Can be in government, can be in industry, and so on. And that's the national or the government context. With industry, I think we always engage them. I think we want to use the latest tools, knowledge, capabilities, and so on. At the same time, we need to have a bit more agile and flexible arrangement how the industry can train us. At the same time, they are business, right? So it's fair for them to get certain benefits in advance. So I mean, in return, right? So we need to have this kind of working model that can be win-win for the players in the ecosystem, and that's why we can build and also enhance the digital talent and also understanding. It's not easy, I think a long way forward, but again, in Smart City, we want to build what we call Smart City Lab, Smart City Campus, and Smart City Sandbox. Thanks.
Okay, that's very good detailed answer. Very helpful for the audience. From Park Johnson, from the media side, I mean, there has been a lot of noise about the privacy and data control. How do you see this aspect from your point of view in Indonesia and in the region? I mean, and your own experience as a head of the IT, how do you manage that data control and cloud technology usage? Yeah.
At the Jakarta Post, we basically the media, which is a private, which is not a public company. We are private companies. Okay. So one thing that concerning us is the cost. We need to make the business running, and from the point of data and privacy, we split what is on public and what is our data for our customer and so on in the back end. We split it. We not put everything in one place, but we split it in multiple places. So we make sure the data that accessed by our readers is totally secure, and also what the transactions behind it is also secure.
Okay. And you mentioned that last year you went through some digital transformation phase. So would you like to explain a little bit more about when a business like yours went for digital transformation? Was it like building a robust, a front end more for viewership, or was it a complete end-to-end digital transformation where even your back end and non-viewership operations have been converted, and the role of cloud technology in that whole transformation?
Last year, we moved everything, including front end, back end, CMS, including the CDNs. Everything is going to the cloud from the on-premise. So in that journey, it's really challenging. So we need to build a business plan that the challenges for the enterprises is not convincing the users, but convincing our management that this is the right plan for the cost and also the futures, adopting the latest technology. So after we doing the digital transformation, we can cut costs about 40% and keep productive.
Okay. And for because I think many of the viewers today may be the vendors, technology service provider. How do they? I mean, what aspect a company like Jakarta Post would consider when selecting a right vendor for cloud technology? Is there any top 3 pointers or anything that you want to share? So because there are a lot of companies in Indonesia who are still not digitally transformed, and I think that will be an area of interest to a lot of attendees today.
Yeah. So basically for the enterprises, the challenges is not put actually. As a technologies, we understand the data going to the cloud is pretty secure, but the management is totally thinking different things. They're thinking you put our digital what you call it tracer going to the cloud. It's been on someone else's houses. So that's one thing we need to keep. Me myself try to educate our management that this is the right way to do it, even though there's a lot of debate and argument inside. But actually, we did it, and we're pretty happy right now.
Okay. So it is more to convince the owners and the C level.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yep. Especially the CFO.
The CFO, yeah. That is very tough job. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
So
during the transformation, there's a big cost for doing the transformation. So
okay.
we need to make sure there's a good business plan behind it to prove it this is the right investment.
Okay. 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 And are they able to foresee that it may take some time to get the ROI on the investment? Or they want, I mean, how much of a roadmap you have to give them? Is it a 5-year, 3-year?
3 years.
3 years
3 years
at least.
roadmap.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this will help the vendors who will plan to pitch to Indonesian companies. Yeah.
Yeah, and also for us, it's media not a big issue, but big enterprises they're still concerning about putting your data out of Indonesia, and it's the policy from the governments.
Right.
Especially banking.
Yes. Yeah, that is also a sensitive area. Yep. Okay, so I will move next to the Setiaji from the government side. I mean, in terms of when I using the app here, right? The vaccine app or any app. I mean, there has been a lot of questions about the data usage and the permissions it asks and everything. So when would you like to explain a little bit, maybe some people in the audience, maybe building future apps and want to work with the government, leveraging on cloud technology? Maybe you can share a little bit more technical info on where the government stands and the features and usage of cloud technology in general. I mean, how do you go about starting with a new project and selecting and then moving forward? Yeah, so if there is a partner who wants to work with you, how would they approach? Yeah.
Okay. Actually, the government itself already have some regulation, for use the cloud first. We have some regulation for the use the cloud, and also the central government now use like they have the national data centers. Actually, this is the cloud technology used it, and for the MIF, for the government, especially in the regionals, actually the cloud is very impactful for us, for develop some new applications, because we have some limited for the resources like infrastructures and also some tools. When we use the cloud itself, we just only use, not thinking about how we manage the maintenance of the infrastructures or maintenance of the tools and etc. We just use and etc. And the important thing is for the budget itself, we have some for the cloud itself. There are some very flexible for the budgets. I mean, we can use for only when we use, like that. So not use everything, only just one we use what we need. And the important thing also about the human resource, for the human resource, the talents itself. Actually, some cloud providers already support us, how use this technology, especially for the cloud itself. This is the new technology, and they support us for the certificate for use the cloud technology, and also they teach us and they inform us about this is the technology and this is what we use and etc. And also they explain about the benchmark, the best expertise of etc. So after this, we can get some visions for the technology itself. And also the important thing is multi-cloud, multi-region. You know, Indonesia is very wide locations, very wide the demographic and etc. So the important thing is about how we can use this. First, about how we can adopt this technology. You can teach us and also give us some education. And then the next thing is about the flexible of the budgets of the how we can pay. We can use the pay what you need. And then the next thing is about the multi-regions. Yeah, I think some providers now use the multi-regions, like some providers. Yeah, and then the next thing is about the security. That's one.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. So for the national data center that you mentioned, the technology is developed within Indonesia and then leverage, or it is a mix of the local technology and you use a little bit of the foreign technology in that aspect?
Yeah, actually this is mix. Yeah, both.
Okay.
Yeah. Not only the technology, the local technology, but also both. Yeah. For example, some security, some tools like that.
Okay. So so let's say if there is a private mobile app or a startup which wants to leverage on the national data center or other capabilities that are being developed, how do they approach? Do they approach the government, or there is a center for that?
Yeah, actually for the national data centers, only for the governments now. Yeah, only for the government sectors.
Okay.
So for the private itself, not eligible to use this. Only for the government. Yeah.
Okay. That is good enough. Okay, thank you. The next is Miss Lim. I would like to ask you that your organizations, what are the initiatives towards this market, Indonesia? If you can share a little bit more on that. Yeah.
From the private sector, I think that there's a lot of interest in Indonesia. I think that Indonesia also has a lot of interest in commercial data centers. And I think that there have been a lot of movements. I think Pak Setiaji and Pak Juan also mentioned this. I think that there are already regulations, and I think the government is definitely driving a lot of that interest in cloud computing, a lot of the interest in ensuring that the data infrastructure can support Indonesia's ambitions. I think that right now Indonesia is in a state of trying to figure out how to actually do cloud. I think, Johnson, you mentioned in the Jakarta Post that, you have to make a business case, like, oh, boss, I want to spend like, how many million rupiah on this? And the boss is like, how many million? You're going to be like, oh, okay, how much is that? And there is a challenge, I think, also in purchasing on utility. And I think that for government is going to be a little bit tricky, because you need to update the procurement mechanisms, and that is like, it's a new bill into the government, and you need to approve it, read it once, read it twice. So I think that's really takes a little bit slower. To give you an example of how difficult it is, I've been working with some other regional countries who are trying to update their procurement mechanisms. And I had a country come up to me and say, man, I need help to update my regulation. And I said, okay, can you send me the regulation, please? They said, sorry, we can't email it to you. I said, why? Because it's in paper and it's somewhere else in another department somewhere else. So I said, okay. So they had to fax that legislation to another department and get them to scan it and send it to me. And it was in a script language, which I don't read. And it was for purchasing on utility for photocopying. They said, we need to update this photocopying so that we can make photocopying like we are purchasing cloud. I was like, excuse me, I'm not quite sure I can do this. But that is the extent to which I think governments are struggling a little bit to update regulations to make sure that they can purchase cloud. And this is what the private sector is struggling with as well, because it's very funny, because you've got a willing buyer and then you've got a willing seller. You're like, how do you put it together? It's like the Lego bricks don't work, because you've got one from Duplo and you've got one from Lego. I see Johnson smiling. I think he understands what I mean.
Yeah, it is a tragedy. I mean, I would like to see a world, maybe it's not in 2021, 2022, but maybe 2050, 2060, when we are all dead. I would not like to live too long, but where procurement is transformed. I mean, Trust Fund should do a conference on World Procurement Show and should transform how procurement is done in a more transparent way. And I wish that can happen one day. But how do you deal with this all regional differences in when dealing with procurement, when dealing with their different interest and appetite? Because every country is 900 million people in Southeast Asia, and everywhere it is such a stark difference on how they deal with, everything changes, right? So how do you deal when you are a director of an organization which is handling the regional aspect? So
we deal with it really, really slowly and one by one. I think that there are definitely policies. I think Pak Setiaji mentioned that in Indonesia, there is a cloud first policy. And we always encourage governments to move towards something like that, because it's a whole of government concept. You need to rethink how the government agencies talk to each other, how the infrastructure is architected, which databases need to API into other databases, the interoperability, and it's really a new way of doing government. And having that discussion for a cloud first policy, having that discussion for a secure cloud policy is what Australia calls it, for example. As long as you have that kind of discussions, it moves the conversation on slowly. I'm not saying that it's an easy nor fast process, but I think that having government agencies like for Pak Setiaji, his organization, like Pak Juan Smart Cities, I think if you understand that it requires a slightly different way of thinking about architectures, then it makes it a little bit easier. At least I think so. I don't know. Pak Setiaji is smiling, so I'm not sure whether he's got stories to tell as well.
Yeah. Maybe you can add something here, Pak Setiaji. Yeah. What is your thoughts on this? Government's role and procurement and how they are moving, but I read that there are some positive changes in that side. I mean, they have definitely improved, right?
First, we need to make like some change for the mindset of the auditor. Auditor, they only see for example, when we buy something, we need some physically, but the cloud there is we can know where is it, where is there, because that we need to change the mindset of the first of auditor first, and then the second for the government staff itself, because they change for the capex into the opex. So we need to change about the mindset and etc. And then the next thing is about the procurement itself. Actually, the procurement itself now we can use the catalog, like that. So we can choose some services using this catalog. Actually, some catalog now already in Indonesia, so they can use this for that.
Okay, that is interesting. So, Park Johnson, before you went through digital transformation, was it like a big space in the office and you used to put all the servers there? Is it still the same for a traditional, the way a traditional company would be doing it? What are your thoughts on that?
It's digital transformation is simplifying what we have in terms of infrastructures. So everything is going to be easier. We don't need to maintain the firewalls. We don't need to maintain the network things. And we can save the budget also on the human resources on that things.
Okay, so it has definitely, I think that is really a big help. In terms of the, when you went through digital transformation, how important was the security aspect? How much time of the project would spend on that aspect? And is it still a continuous evolution using cloud, and are you worried as head of IT sometime over the security of your digital assets?
Yep, there's a lot of attack happen at our site actually, not only on site, also on the apps. But we're trying to put. That's why we implemented several layers of securities. The first thing is we use the CDNs. At least that's the case in every region around the world. So after that, we going also the caching in the background and so on. So that's minimize the attack for us. At least they cannot directly access to our databases. Just the front end.
Okay, but this is an evolving thing, I believe, right? I mean, you have to.
Yeah, we are evolving. We also implementing more layers of security for our backends.
Okay.
So it's more so, and especially right now when everybody is working from home. So we need to think a strategy how to put everyone, every employee is connected to the systems but secure.
But an organization like yours, do you use for even after digital transformation, is everything fully owned by you, or are you guys using third-party tools as well? Like example, like you know, a lot of groups where I do advisory. I mean, we still, whatever digital transformation happens, they still use you know, third-party tools to communicate and project management tools. So for an Indonesian organization, post-digital transformation, are they using 100% inbuilt solution, or is it like cherry pick from here and there and put it together?
We are mixing it. So if we need more resources with a higher level of aspect, so we hire someone or we put it to the vendors.
Okay.
If we can do it internally, we do it internally.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think that is. I think for a private enterprise that may be easy, but how does the government side handles it, Setiaji? If you need additional resources, because you may not know if during a project you may need something more, because maybe the technology has changed on which you're working, leveraging on cloud, and suddenly, so how do you manage that? Does it delay the project if you don't have the resources, or you expedite it and push the procurement and auditor department? How do you handle that?
Actually, we have some collaboration. We call it the Pentahelix. Pentahelix is coming from the ABCGM, academic, business, community, and etc. Actually, some of our solution is not developed by ours. We just only use some technology and plug in our platform. And the other thing is our platform is open source, so we can invite some community, some expertise to develop together. And the other thing for the some blockers of the regulation, etc. We actually we need some approachment to personnel for its government and etc. We did some personal approach to use this, because not on this cannot only for the example like some announce, some socialization, but we need some personal approach, because this is we need to change their mindset using the cloud, because some people knowing that the cloud only just store it like a Google Drive. They didn't have some knowledge about the cloud itself. So after they know about the cloud and how they use and how this efficient and effective and etc., it's easy to leverage this technology.
Okay, that's very helpful. Okay, I think the time is up, and I think I'll let Bhavna, if you want to take over from here. It was wonderful to have a chat with all of you. I hope to see you again in a future conference as well.
Thank you.
At Trust One.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kai, on this wonderful moderation. Thank you so much, Johnson and Setiaji, and of course, all our eminent panelists who could, be with us today at the opening at the World Cloud Show, Jakarta. Thank you once again.
Yes.